Russian tanks have been known to have their turrets blowing off as high as a two-story building when it gets hit by the enemy's munitions. This is not something new, as this was exposed during the Gulf War when Iraq's Russian-made T-72s suffered the same problem. But since then, Russia has not changed their tank's fatal design, the location of its munitions. We'll look at the T-72, as it almost shares the same autoloader with most Russian tanks. The fatal explosion happens because munitions, about 20 to 40 pieces stored in a carousel setup, are put inside the hull of the tank right beneath the turret. Note that there are extra munitions inside the turret as well. Common sense dictates that when the tank is successfully hit on the right spot, whether on the extra munitions in the turret first or the munitions in the carousel, this causes the munitions to explode, therefore blasting off the turret and killing the crews inside. If we compare it to Western tanks like the M1A2 Abrams, such a fatal explosion will never happen, as this tank's munitions are placed in an armored munition compartment at the back of the turret. In the event that the munitions explode, it only affects the munition compartment and not the entire tank, therefore protecting the crews. But why did Russia not change the design of their tanks if it endangers their crews? Well, it seems that Russia gives more importance to its tanks' abilities rather than its crews. If we look at these two, it's very obvious that the T-72 is smaller than the M1A2. It is smaller because it has a small turret. It has a small turret because the munitions are put inside the hull beneath the turret. In contrast, the M1A2's turret is larger because the munitions are at the back of the turret. Having a design like this actually gives the T-72 some advantages. For one, because the T-72 is smaller, it is much lighter, having 49.1 tons of mass, while the M1A2 has 73.6 tons of mass. Because the T-72 is lighter, it is much faster, having 75 kilometers per hour of speed compared to M1A2, which has 67 kilometers per hour of speed. Not only that, because the T-72 is smaller, it has a low profile, making it much harder to hit compared to the larger M1A2. Well, this could be effective if the fight is tanks versus tanks, but with the advancement of anti-tank munitions, this advantage in size is then rendered somewhat diminished, especially if you parade your tanks when entering enemy territory. Another benefit of this smaller tank with an autoloader is that because it only needs 3 crews to operate, Russia can save on manpower. Therefore, they have more people who can operate their mass-produced tanks. Constructing tanks has trade-offs. Russia chose to make their tanks more mobile and have low profile, therefore putting the munitions inside the hull. But when it gets hit successfully, the entire tank is destroyed. Meanwhile, the US chose to give up mobility and low profile, though their tanks are not that slow really, putting the munitions inside an armored compartment in the turret in order to increase survivability of its tanks, especially the crews.